I've also realized in next media or in the marketing space, I should be able to put up my hand and say I'm a representative. I must also share my knowledge and insights on what I believe should happen, because why keep it here and then castigate the policymakers if we've also not shared it?
So, what an exciting morning. Welcome, everybody, to the podcast on Uganda and the segment on marketing. We feel very honored that our guest today actually made time for this to happen. I wonder if you've ever wondered who shapes our digital and the entertainment you consume. So today we are in luck, Patriot. We have a man of many talents, a marketing genius, and a content curator. He's so much more other than that. Today we'll be focusing on how he's been behind the scenes of some of the biggest companies. And you've definitely seen some of these campaigns, brands, you've definitely heard of them. Welcome, Danze.
Thank you very much.
We are so excited. We've done a lot of research on what you've done. You've done so much marketing agencies. You've done trainings in amazing companies and collaborated with big brands in this country. We're very focused on what your experience has been. We did our due diligence as we prepared for this episode. You did data entry, drawing portraits, event branding. You did some fashion work, esports, social media executive, digital marketing, TV and radio host, producer, head of marketing, and general manager today. I am so excited to hear all about this. What was your experience like on this journey from a data analyst to now head of marketing?
I think it's always overwhelming to hear your personal journey, especially me being a kind of human being who is not very good at documenting stuff. There's a bit of legacy that is seen, but at the same time, I know my mantra is let your works speak for you, something I completely believe in. My journey started from being interested in being a bit more outspoken. I come from a family of 7. I'm the second last, and I'm the first boy in our family. I'm surrounded with girls, and usually that comes with its pros and cons. You're not very expressive because you're not around guys a lot. But at the same time, you have to be very vibrant and talkative because you're around girls, because that's just the nature of big families back in the day. I got a bit of the bug for marketing in school. That was what I'm really good at in school. Academic-wise, I'm extremely good at arts, crafts, creative, performing arts, and all that stuff. When it comes to the science of marketing, communication, the first time I did something marketing-wise was because we had an entertainment Saturdays whereby we would bring movies to the school. I used to draw the poster of the movie that's going to show, and I found that the guys were really interested in seeing an artistic impression of what a movie poster would be like. So I said, you know what, let me start doing these things every single. Fast forward, I stand for a role of information prefect, and I'd already shown my ability to portray information. I find myself winning it by a landslide, and that allows me to start to inform all the students of what will be the updates of the week. I would have to go and stand on the assembly and say, this is what you expect this week, this is what happened last week, these are the milestones of the school. I actively begin to express myself publicly to people, and those are just all the
we have something in common. I was also the information prefect in my school.
Nice. Later on, I figured, you know what, I'm done with school. Let me find something that I'm comfortable doing, because now I felt like I could express myself better. I could portray information to different audiences at a given time. I end up finding myself in a space of actively trying to continue communicating or promoting. And that's why I end up doing events, branding, putting up pull-up banners, just to practice what was in my head on how best an event or a promotion should be. That really did kick off the journey of marketing.
It's really exciting. And speaking of dreams come true, you talked about working on movie posters, and then you've had the experience of working with Disney, Marvel Studios. What is it like being a part of campaigns of such iconic brands, especially now with blockbusters, right? Just sketching and drawing, and then you had the opportunity to work on such campaigns.
I think one thing that I strongly believe in, you will speak your destiny into existence, or you'll do things that will clear this path on where things end up. But the same exact thing you've said is what most of my friends have said before. In school, you used to draw these things, but now you're actively promoting their campaigns. It's not overwhelming if you're ready for it. It's something whereby you get to see standards and you get to put yourself at a different level of execution, because first of all, these guys are overly prepared. If you're going to do a movie premiere, you're planning 6 months in advance. They've sent the collateral 6 months in advance. They've sent the right talking points the files and everything else much, much further. They don't leave anything to chance. Things do change a lot on the way, but the one thing I know about them is standardization is that something you learn from the get-go. And there's a lot of scrutiny in terms of which brands they allow to attach to their brand.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's really glaring out there when it comes to these amazing studios.
Fantastic. Now you're going to give us a primer into your vision or how you see things. How have the trends evolved from when you started out in marketing and now, and how it is today as a head of marketing in one of the biggest media houses in Uganda?
One of the glaring biggest trends is audiences decide right now. We no longer tell them what they want. We're not in charge of the script. I'll give you a scenario. Right now, you've seen what Netflix does, tailored entertainment or content. It's because of the consumer behaviors and it's because of what people have been viewing and doing over time. To the smallest dot, what do you navigate on the remote most? Which profile do you majorly go to? The audience or the end user is in a lot more control right now. The brands have to bend it to their will or to their standards or to their consumer behaviors. Back in a day, you would roll out a product, you're going to say it's going to be in these colors, we're going to put it here, and that's where people will be able to see it because that's the only way to access it. Right now, no one is top priority unless you are a legacy brand like a Nike and an Adidas or like a brand like Cristiano Ronaldo who just broke a record of 50 million subs in 48 hours.
Yeah.
That's what people want. You're going to find that it's very difficult for a big brand that's been here longer than Ronaldo, something that has existed for a long time. You'll find that a new TikToker or influencer is going to have a lot more authority to their audiences compared to, say, a media house.
Yeah.
So those are the things that are evidently out there. And to me, it's the number one thing I consider. What do the people want? How do we give it to them within our standards? Because you also have to respect your personal brand. You can't change it too much to suit an audience, but you have to adapt to that audience needs.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you, but also it coming from you who has really collaborated with the biggest marketing agency, TWA, Fireworks Advertising, Nextcom, amazing. And now that you talk about audiences, help us in practical terms. There's a young patriot listening in right now. So the audience, you talked about them understanding the persona and then them aligning with their brand. What does that mean if we were to bring it down to the young listener?
Think of it this way. You have a cupcake, you've been making it cream and sugar, probably you've been putting a couple of flavors, chocolate flavor, you've been selling it at 3,000 shillings, a cupcake to the mother of this child who's taking the cupcake to school. But then you realize that there are so many other people out there doing cupcakes as well. And for them, they've decided to ask, guys, we've realized that you like star-shaped cupcakes, and that's what's selling right now. You ask them why star-shaped cupcakes. It's because it's what's trending. That's what the rest of the kids are eating. So we prefer to have them star-shaped because in school we don't want to be laughed at or we want to be in the trend. Me, as a person who has been having a prosperous business doing my circular-shaped cupcakes, chocolate, I need to consider doing the star ones. Otherwise, the competition is going to eat me up. That's one way of thinking about it. The second way is going to be a bit more practical. Look at TV viewership or people that listen to radios, or like you clearly said, viewers are younger and they like to listen to podcasts right now. Back in the day, this was the entire huge media landscape whereby people are either watching, listening, or reading. Right now, what a podcast is going to give you is a listen, watch. So why should I tune into a TV and a radio station if I can simply go to YouTube or any other streaming platform that I want and consume the content?
Yeah.
That's how I always ask guys to think about audiences practically. There's always the relationship example as well. You're looking at this lady or this guy, you're interested in this person, they are carrying themselves a certain way until you get to interact with them, and then you realize, oh, this is what they have to offer vis-a-vis this. Those are all the things that our audiences consider, because someone will consider you as an option because either they've seen an amazing billboard or an amazing TV commercial. But when they begin to watch your programming or your products or listen to your presenters or see your social media posts, they're like, you know what? I think I was wrong. I was attracted to this brand because of the baseline. They ticked all the boxes, but the content or the subject matter became absolutely garbage because now it's direct engagements. Audiences measure you directly on engagement or how they experience you. We can no longer get away with it. They need to know what your day-to-day is, not who you are.
Now that you then think of audiences as such a big movement, because it's here to stay given the landscape of engagement, where is the opportunity for people to tap into understanding the audiences better to be able to get through to them?
The number one opportunities, there are younger audiences. The opportunity right there is you're going to recruit a lot more. Uganda has 1.2 million people below the age of 18 every single year. That's the total number of people turning 18. What does that mean? Meaning you have opportunities to present your brand to a younger audience. And if you do it right, they are going to stick with you for a very long period of time. Because the older audiences right now are very hard to convince to change from consuming this product to try and get to your new product that you're putting out there in the market. The companies that I consult with or I work with, I always tell them, look out for the younger audience, give them what they want. The opportunity will be is they are going to promote your brand by themselves. They'll fight tooth and nail to make sure that you're in every conversation or that you're well represented because you chose to be their person. That's a huge opportunity that I see that's clearing out there. Data is so available these days. We're in the era of generative AI. You have the chat GPTs, you have the video and audio generated AIs. Use these opportunities because we didn't have them back in the day. When I was in agency, let's say at Moringa, before it even became Tibwa, there was no access to Ugandan data, how many people are on socials, how many people are actively engaging in the moment, how many people chose this color. But right now there's emojis, there's reactions, there's live streaming. There's so much access to data because almost all social media platforms are mining it so that the more they give it to you, the easier it is for them to build bigger businesses. So that's a very huge opportunity that is out there when it comes to audiences.
Fantastic. Over 10 years of working in marketing, you've partnered with amazing brands, Nile Breweries, Crown Beverages, Uganda Breweries, Toto. Which have been those very exciting campaigns you've worked on? Or they could be just campaigns that you pass by on a golf course that you think, wow, that campaign really stuck with me.
Crown Beverages is very personal to me because I was this one digital executive at Fireworks Advertising that was handling the entire Crown Beverage portfolio. So I got to immerse myself into the brands. I started the socials for Nile Breweries. I started the socials for Crown Beverages. The campaigns, I'll pick one from, let's say, Crown Beverages, which is the Extreme Gamers Tour. I'm a huge gamer. I love esports and virtual gaming. Extreme Gamers Tour was taking gaming across the entire country. There's no district we didn't go to. It had an amazing budget. And the beautiful thing is it put gaming as the main driver. It put skateboarding, extreme mountain biking. But at the end goal is every place that we went to sample these extreme activities, we presented the Mountain Dew for people to sample for the first time. And that's why the brand has become so mainstream right now. It's something you find that newer brands that enter the market make a version of it here. So it's something that stuck with me. The other campaign would be Salapolesa again by Pepsi.
Yeah.
It was the first time we used influencer marketing quite effectively here in Uganda. We got Wininwaji, Munji, and we made them the brand ambassadors. And then we got social media influencers to tie on to each of these two ambassadors. So every single Sunday when there was a draw, everyone would be pushing for Team Nwaji, Team Munji to push this whole campaign of Pepsi. People buying sodas, checking under the crown and winning amazing products. I ended up making a virtual game that I installed into the Facebook page for Pepsi, and it made actual revenue for the company. So 2015, Pepsi Uganda made actual money from their Facebook account, and very few brands were able to do that then. Yet those campaigns really stood out for me. They allowed me to test things that could easily fail, but at the same time, it just allowed me to see what power the online space genuinely has. The other one, I would say Total Exilium, when it came into the market. Almost everyone knows Shell. It's like the driving brand. These guys' challenge was to introduce their new cleaner and safer fuel. Working on that campaign also allowed me to understand what competitive marketing is like, or what competitor analysis is like, and also what drives people to consume a certain product versus the other. It allowed me to understand that our consumers are extremely smart because there's feedback they would give on the fuel that we're trying to shove down their throats, and you could genuinely tell that On this one, you're not going to convince them no matter what, because one, brand love for the other competing brand, but secondly, they've tried and tested this product. So their insights are valid. There have been multiple campaigns. I've done that thing for a very long time. So those ones that I mentioned, they taught me something very key. And more often or not, they're the things that got me headhunted, or they're the things that every time I mention in a boardroom, they were like, there's some potential here, let's give this guy an opportunity. Because I chose to do something out of the box.
The campaigns that you're talking about are very significant to our listeners. I guess also because I'm a total user, but that's fantastic to hear that you were part of these brands. Two things I'll dwell on: gaming and influencer marketing. I have such a challenge with gaming. I feel like it's such a waste for youth resource. I get it works for the brand, because this podcast focuses on how to achieve a middle class economy. I really have a challenge with seeing young people who would be doing something to better themselves, but the way you put it, probably they're also benefiting from it. What would be the benefit of someone to be gaming?
Growing up in a very traditional setting, especially here in Africa, in Uganda, we do gaming as a leisure or recreation activity. It's not something we used to do competitively. A number of years down the road, my parents have understood that I can make a living out of gaming, because the budget for the Extreme Gamers Tour was over 700 million Ugandan shillings. To get that budget right now for a campaign around BTL is tricky, because the economy is crazy, yes, but also why not just do majority of the budgeting online and get guys to do the things offline? Gaming, health-wise, I'll just focus on the actual benefits for the human being. Is my fast thinking, my quick reflexes, cognitive thinking, and also viewing trends for almost all the activities that we are seeing now, like artificial intelligence, virtual reality, etc. As gamers, we saw them a very long time ago, because we virtually entered these spaces of these non-real life characters. So it's trends I test way ahead of time compared to other normal, let's say, product users. There's what we call competitive gaming, whereby as you see a real footballer who goes to the pitch and plays football, there's real virtual footballers that go out there, create teams, compete nationally. And this is a fun fact. After the porn and movie industry, gaming is the third most lucrative, biggest economy in the world, because almost everyone is going to play Candy Crush. Almost everyone is going to play a board game, Monopoly, a Sudoku, you name it. It's because of the way our market looks at it that makes it unattractive, I would say. That's why us marketers are here. I've made so many connections with people that are trying to do their best to put gaming out there in the market. It managed to make a soda money from social media. So it's something that is well worth trying investing in, especially I always recommend it to some brands out there who are trying to do mobilization. Look at what's going to happen next year. Elections are going to be coming soon. What better way to mobilize 1,000 young boys and girls in one location by telling them they're going to a gaming tournament, and then you come and put your brand in that conversation. Those are some small nuggets that people need to consider when it comes to that space.
Elections are coming. Like you rightly said, you have gotten training from some of the biggest voices in media: BBC, DW, Voice of America. And today's not just social media, because you are an authority on Twitter, but what would you say to someone who is getting into the whole digital marketing?
Being an influencer doesn't mean you're a digital marketer. That one we need to know from the get-go. Being an influencer means you're part of the digital marketing process.
Yeah.
If you can do both and balance them very well, you become a very strong digital marketer and influencer, because one of the most significant things about digital marketing is influencer marketing. The insight is people buy from people. You need to have your brand as a recommended brand, as opposed to fighting to be the number one brand. Today you're number one, tomorrow you're number two. Being top of mind and actively recommended as a brand by an influencer is what you should all of us aim for. And people shouldn't think of us as people with millions of followers.
Yeah.
An influencer is someone that influences. Who is going to make Danze buy a unique game? I'll only listen to an influencer in the gaming space. It can't be a retail store that influences that decision for me, because it doesn't matter. I already want the product. Your price doesn't matter. It's about my friend saying, you're playing this. It's fun. Come join in. That's absolute influence. For getting into the digital marketing space or the online space, the one thing you need to know is there is no guru, there is no expert, but There are very learned and knowledgeable people out there. And that means you're going to have to scour the internet to find the latest trends, recommend the latest strategies, and be able to decide or do the most efficient and effective digital marketing strategy. And it doesn't matter for the product. There will never be a standardized way of doing digital marketing for brands. That's why the strategy, as much as it may be laid on a template, awareness, affinity, and action, those three things are the number one fundamental of any strategy. For digital, it does change a lot because you're going to wake up today, it's a highly politicized digital space on X, but you may find guys on Facebook are on other things. Guys on TikTok are on completely different challenges. So you can't recommend a strategy for a banking app to just X the same way you're going to do it on IG, on WhatsApp groups, and on Meta platforms. You need to be very in tune with how these platforms work, what their audiences are like, and most importantly, what drives experience and engagement and conversation around products on those platforms. Once you've nailed that last bit, it's easier for you to command attention and high top of mind and engagement and views. That's usually the one thing I always try and teach the younger, more robust and aggressive digital marketers out there. I've made a living out of digital, and it's very possible for anyone else to make a living out of digital. You need to absolutely be a force in the space. Don't be a naysayer, but you just need to be a force. That when people ask, who did that? It's you. Yeah. Who can consult on this? It's you. Who can pull this off? It's you. Who can give the right insight? It's you. Once you're forced, I will always worry to even propose a certain fee when they want consultancy from you. Those are things people need to really be focused on. Don't do it for vibes. Do it as an actual career.
Mm-hmm. Don't do it for vibes. The young people normally like vibes. Speaking of vibes, you've been in a vibey place like Nextcom that I feel like is predominantly digital, just working off of the internet and that kind of infrastructure. I wonder if there's any policy recommendations. If there's something you would change about working in this ecosystem, what would it be?
We are unfortunate enough to be in this specific region. Look at our neighbors in Nairobi, South Africa. We are not putting enough enabling things in place for this to be seamless or successful. Look at Uganda, Facebook. One of the very biggest marketplaces is shut down. People have to illegally use Facebook by using VPNs, and that means that cybersecurity is compromised. Yeah. We're not willing to do e-commerce on Facebook because there's a high chance your data is going to be phished, or you're going to be scammed, or your account is going to be taken. So it's a ripple effect of things that are happening. The political space and people not knowing how to politically act. At the same time, a government thinking that the best way to prevent crazy mobilization is by shutting down a very powerful platform. Those are all the things that I see that are not enablers. People are not arming themselves with the knowledge. And this is something that I find very hurtful, or it really distresses me every time I'm on a WhatsApp group and I see feedback being shared by a person in a very powerful position in the marketing space, and it's wrong feedback or wrong insight. People are going to genuinely take you seriously on this because of the position you hold. When I bring it to media, citizen journalism, whereby we all know it's the future of journalism, what takes our reporters and anchors and journalists long to know that the phone is the place where people are consuming their media. They need to start creating content from the phone and for the phone, because again, 1.2 million people are turning 18 every year. They're not watching you on TV. They don't want long format content. If it's long format content, they want it to be the way Netflix is doing it. So even as the professionals, we take way too long to adapt to these spaces. That's why you hear the cliche of, we are 5 to 10 years behind these people. Why? We have access to internet. Let infrastructure and government policy be our own hindrance. Let it not be knowledge. The only reason I accept to do these conversations is because this is a controlled space where you're going to share actual insight with someone that's consuming it in real time. I can measure my effectiveness of what I share because you are my point of direction and the people specifically listening to this podcast, as opposed to going on a panel where it's going to be, you're not sure of the impact of your engagement. This is an effective way of knowledge sharing. Yeah, it's the same way I got all my skills, because our target, listen to what they are saying, learn, put into real effect. I didn't learn digital marketing or marketing from school. I did industrial and fine art, but I am a practiced, experienced marketer. And I decided to niche in digital marketing. You get it? There's so much we need to really do or put in place. I'm not going to say it's all doom and gloom. There are so many amazing things that are happening in this country. Minister of ICT has put things in place. I see media houses are changing. I see there's more engagement in the marketing spaces. I like this WhatsApp group I'm on called Top Marketers. It's more vibrant and it's very authentic. There's no pretentiousness, and guys are able to ask questions. I'm not ashamed to say that I've learned. We need to be in real spaces, and we need to give people real life scenarios and examples. We can't give baseline marketing or digital marketing strategies, or you also can't go to the government and tell them, open Facebook. They'll say, so what? You need to create an example of how this affects the entire ecosystem, economy, or how this will affect infrastructure development later on, because if we don't get into technologies that are going to help government, you see how we failed to do virtual elections, and I've seen countries that have pulled it off. It's because we haven't put things in place to allow for, let's say, easy internet access to remote areas, or the bare minimum of having dial phones for people to send SMS blasts for voting. You get it? There's so many things that come to play.
Oof, that is so thought-provoking. I really like the energy, your enthusiasm as you just share this knowledge with us. So thank you so much. And you're true to what you said earlier. I wrote a quote down. It's not overwhelming when you're prepared. So the fact that we need to soul search, we need to be curious, push boundaries, and search for what will work for us. I guess what you just talked about earlier was a segue into achieving a middle class economy. What, in your opinion, is that thing, or how is Uganda going to achieve that middle class economy of 2040?
I think policies can't be avoided in this case because we're run by a government. We have a parliament, but we also have representatives in these places. But like the gamer example, if you want brands to invest in gaming in Uganda, you must show the potential of gaming to them, because for them their reality is, where is the person? They're in this area in Kamocha. What are people in Kamocha doing? They're predominantly traders. Let me take my drinks into a kiosk. Simple and easy for them. If they have their product available to people physically, they'll buy them. You get it? It's just the science. But yet you could have people selling these things on the internet and delivering them there. Policy is one. Secondly, infrastructure, we cannot avoid that. I see we're trying our level best to have more access to, let's say, the internet. I see there are so many ISPs right now. It's encouraging to see that home internet connections are going to get cheaper, more accessible, and more available, especially fiber right now. I've seen data is becoming less and less expensive. And like I've said, 1.2 million people are turning 18. Those are absolute digital natives. They've been born into that digital space. And the biggest driver of advancement in middle income status is the access to information. Because if you know how to prevent illnesses, if you know how to do better Medicare, if you know how to vote wisely or have better skill sets or capacity building, it allows for you to have a smarter city, smarter environment. People are going to be more eco-cognizant. There's going to be a lot more sustainability for environment, but also for human interests at the same time. So that knowledge accessibility is going to allow for us to get into that next step. Because you see, there are less hindrances in places where there's lack of basic knowledge. Crazy thing is, us here in town, I mean, my offices are in Nakuru, my other offices were in Acacia, then the other ones were in Kololo. I have lived under this illusion of these things are accessible. Yet you're going to drive out of Kampala CBD. When you begin to get the Kayungas, the Mukonos, the Setas, all the way up to Pakuba, Arua, etc., you begin to get a rude awakening of, my Bluetooth signal is getting off. My internet connection is now bad. I can only send you an SMS, I can't send you a WhatsApp. You get it? Secondly, how come there's no Uber? How come there's no KFC? How come there's no Jumia inside? You begin to realize that the conveniences of a human being that have allowed you to think faster, smarter, and be more prepared for the next day are generally lacking from the other economies who are the majority. It means we cannot advance because this information and access to better living conditions is what's hindering all of us from moving forward. Because that person up there in order for them to vote for the right politician, their priority is getting cleaner water. They are not caring about your internet or Wi-Fi faster connection. Meaning the person that gives them the cleaner water or bribes them with some couple of goats and things like that is the person they are going to vote, because their priority is survival, as our priorities improved life. So there's a clash in communities and mindsets. Then, of course, the education levels. I've gone through UPE schools. I've gone through private schools. Right now, I've been doing chartered marketing. Like, I've never believed in the structure and the systems of the schools that we have here or the education format in itself. What I believe in is that we have very smart and knowledgeable and willing to learn people as Ugandans. They just need tailored education. I've seen how fast my daughter has learned some things, and my parents tell me at that age, you are way behind. Why? Because we've allowed them to learn from the internet, of course, in a very controlled space. That's another conversation for another time. But if I hadn't left industrial and fine art, because I dropped out, I chose to stop that course because I realized the better offering for design and arts was a more technical and practical institution, which surprisingly was charging us less, but you get to learn real life skills for your industry in that case. Because by the time I was moving out to go to NASA Road to do printing, my friends were 10 steps ahead of me. Those are some of the things I believe are very important for us to consider in moving to the next level.
Every time we host guests like Danze on the podcast, my brain is just bursting and overwhelmed with a lot of information. So thank you, Danze.
I got someone to handle my LinkedIn. I won't even lie to you. I decided to to improve the life of someone by paying them to do it. Why? Because I have so many undocumented things that I do. So I decided to let people learn from me and my experiences on the professional platform. I'm more active on X because X is a global village. I'm able to see or easily interact with almost all my other interests. At the same time, I have a public account. You can easily DM me. You can easily tweet at me. I'll respond.
Yeah.
I've been added to a couple of WhatsApp groups, especially for some professions like marketing for now. I think that's also another place to easily find me.
Yeah.
Just hit me up on public spaces. I'm usually there. I feel like my rule is the better I share my information, the more I learn, because next time I can't say the same thing.
Absolutely.
So it allows me to prove myself. Yeah.
I have to let you go now. You're such a busy manager. Can you imagine head of marketing of one of the biggest media houses in Uganda? Thank you so much for sharing your insights. We are much better with this information. I hope we use it wisely.
Thank you very much for having me. It was an opportunity to share and learn. I always say this on every single platform I go to. Please make sure you make someone's day today by liking, by saying something positive on their comment. If it's someone you see with fewer likes and engagement, be that one person that's going to make them feel good about it. Don't be abusive online. People gravitate closer to you for exactly what you give them. The community you will attract by being abusive people, but imagine you attracting a community of people that encourage each other, say positive things about other people, and also most people that are willing to share knowledge with you. So I think those are things that as young digital natives are going to have to learn, but secondly, as professionals at an older age, is positivity will always win. Just let's be positive with guys. Yeah.